Well, I had a completely different episode I was planning on bringing you guys today in regard to the Charlotte Hornets and if the Hornets can be the Phoenix Suns in the East this season. So look out for that episode. It's going to be coming here soon. But we just got the final investigation. The NBA has come. They found no wrongdoing in the Aspiration, the Kawhi Leonard, and the Steve Ballmer thing. Did the NBA get this right? Or is this just going to start another string of controversy talk around the NBA? We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA City.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of the Full Court Podcast. My name is Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow us at the Full Court YT on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So, it's been reported that the NBA has found no evidence that Steve Ballmer funneled money through Aspiration to Kawhi Leonard to circumvent the cap. And so this now changes the whole entire story, right? The biggest allegation in this was that Ballmer funneled money through sponsors to get that to Kawhi Leonard. The report now that says is that the NBA has found no evidence of that at all, and this weakens the most explosive version of this case, right? If there is no direct money trail that the NBA has found, the punishment is going to be harder to justify or even come down with any punishment right now. Of course, the public narrative is going to be that they may have gotten ahead of the evidence in regard to this one, and we'll see. But I want to be clear here. The investigation is not over yet. And the NBA is looking at sponsor introductions and possible rule violations still. So they are still not coming down with the final decision yet on this investigation. But it will say this: if there is a failure to supervise finding, it could still matter in that something gets done, whether it's a fine or something like that, picks or whatever. Cap circumvention cases can involve, a more than just a simple paper trail. Now, the question in this is that what does this now mean for the deal? We'll get into that for a second in the trade, right? But if the league still does believe or find that the Clippers may have crossed a conduct line, that means that there is still some punishment that could come from the Los Angeles Clippers. This is not an official into the investigation, but it is a taking away the smoking gun in that investigation, right? So the question now becomes, is this normal NBA business, or is this a problem with the NBA rules if that's it, right? If teams can introduce players to business partners, which they do all the time, and the sponsors do want access to the players, that means that players and agents can ask for those introductions, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're circumventing the cap. Does it look the best? Maybe not, right? And so the Clippers say that they did not negotiate any form of Kawhi's endorsement terms with those companies. They just made the introduction for that. So a player having a deal with a team sponsor does not automatically equate what the NBA is finding here to salary cap circumvention. But there is a tight line here that the NBA has to, right? Sponsor relationships can become a backdoor benefit in a way, especially when sponsors have direct relationships with owners of teams, right? And while teams cannot recommend for players for endorsement arrangements, they can make that introduction, which is a very big gray area in regard to this, right? So if introductions do become disguised as compensation channels, that's where the circumvention comes in at, and that's where the rules around the salary cap get a little bit weakened in this, right? So the Clippers still had a responsibility to supervise to make sure that it didn't cross the line in that, right? And so with the league wanting to maintain and protect the competitive balance, that's where it gets to. There's a difference between an introduction and a funnel of money. And that's what the NBA is saying here, basically, is the difference in that. They have not found that money was funneled, but an introduction was made, right? And I think when you look at it now, is that people are going to make the conversation of, is this a technical violation, or is it just an overreach by many, right? The NBA has a rule. That's what it comes down to, right? The operations manual says directly that team reps cannot recommend a player to a sponsor as an endorsement candidate, right? Teams can only provide contact information if approached by a business partner. If the Clippers did any more than that, then the NBA is going to have a case here. If they did not do any more than that, that's where things falter at, right? Even technical violations matter when star money is involved, right? And that's what it gets down to. Now, in this, it still may not equate to salary cap circumvention. The NBA could find that the Clippers did toe a line, that they were in a gray area, but it wasn't actually salary cap circumvention, which then could lead that to them not being punished, right? The league itself, by the way, has encouraged sponsor-player dialogue in team business materials. They've done that. That's a fact here, right? So turning that into a salary cap circumvention case may be deemed a little bit too aggressive, especially when the NBA Players Union is involved in this one, right? So this is not the same as the Joe Smith situation that people have made the comparisons to and have kind of aligned it with since this conversation has started. It is not the same, right? The Joe Smith case shows that the league can punish teams via hitting agreements, right? Now, there is not that. Right now, per what we got, is that they found that there has been no hidden agreement, so we can't say that, right? This is not the same case as the Joe Smith case, and that's what it happens to. The question now becomes about, to make this about basketball, is the Raptors trade still on hold? Is this now enough for the Toronto Raptors to feel like, let's go ahead, let's finalize this deal so before training camp, we can move forward, and it's there. We already know the reasons why Toronto is going to probably make, as long as there's no suspensions or anything like that, why it makes sense for them to allow this deal to go through. He changes their playoff ceiling. He changes so much about that team. And right now, there is no indication at all, or therefore any findings that would lead to Kawhi's contract being voided at all based on what was released. The worst case risk right now is that, it does seem like maybe if something is found that maybe a suspension could come. Again, kind of all it's in there, right? So when it comes to right now, the trade is still paused for right now, but I would not be surprised if we start seeing this thing where this deal goes through maybe within the next 24 hours, right? And that way the Toronto Raptors and Clippers can just move forward and not have to worry about it. This was the smoking gun, and now that this is found, it's there. So now people are looking at Kawhi Leonard's side of this and saying, listen, Kawhi seems to be moving towards the clear. Kawhi seems to be cleared in this. There's no indication right now that his contract's going to be voided. There's no indication right now that the salary cap was circumvented. There's no indication right now that the focus is on Kawhi. Via what we hear right now, it seems like the investigation is focused more on the Clippers than Kawhi's contract. And so therefore, the result to that is that if there are no improper benefits that Kawhi Leonard has gotten from this, then I don't think that the deal is going to be voided at all. And then Kawhi is probably still going to, this deal is going to go through sooner rather than later. Now, there is still a bit of a cloud over this. I want to be clear there. It does not completely absolve anything either. And until the NBA, I guess, either sends fillers out to the teams or makes an official statement that it's going to get done. And keep in mind, there's another overarching thing with this too, that the NBA versus the NBA Players Association, this is probably going to go to arbitration, especially now that the smoking gun is gone. If the NBA does try to punish Kawhi Leonard in any way, the Players Association is probably going to lead this to arbitration, which then could lead to another 12 months of it being an arbitration. You've already spent 11 months investigating this. It could go even further if you get, and best believe, the NBA PA is going to get involved in this, and it's going to go to arbitration. They're not going to lie on unless there was that smoking gun that made it clear that both sides knew that they were circumventing the cap and agreed to circumvent the cap and get this deal done. The NBA PA was going to send this to arbitration anyway, right? And so the NBA PA, the Clippers, they're going to fight this. And so with the risk of this going another 11, 12 months in arbitration, I do think that now you're probably going to see this Kawhi Leonard trade go through here. Like I said, I would not be surprised if it's gone through within the next 24 to 48 hours, and that's it. All parties and all sides are going to have to agree to discipline to avoid arbitration. And that's probably between the NBA PA, the Clippers, and the NBA. That's highly unlikely now with them finding that Steve Ballmer did not circumvent the cap at all, that he did not go through backdoor channels. That's it. So now with this being more so looking at, did they live in a gray area, knew that they were living in a gray area, unless something else pops up that is the smoking gun in this case, guess what? This deal is probably going to go through. And that's just the reality of it and where it is. Now, I expect a lot of reactions to be there. Pablo Torre is probably going to come out firing, right, at everybody because he spent the better part of 2 years. Because keep in mind, even before he released his findings, he was investigating that for almost a year before he released it. So Pablo Torre spent a lot of time coming down with this investigation. And now the NBA is basically saying, hey, yeah, we didn't find any of what you just talked about. That's not what happened here at all. So we're going to see. So, this is overall, it's a thing. So the final verdict on this, if I'm listening to it, is that the Clippers are cleared in a way, right? But they're still not out of trouble per se, right? It's looking much better before. Then with no evidence that Steve Ballmer was funneling money through backdoor channels, that's there. So that now means that the case appears narrower than what the public opinion on it may be, and that so sponsor introductions are very common. That's it. So I think that the strongest examples that you look at to find punishment in that is just not going to be there, right? So That's it. The trade's probably still going to get done. The Clippers aren't technically out of it yet, but Kawhi and the Raptors may be done, and they may be in the clear. Let me know what you guys think on all this down below. Let me know what you think that the NBA should be doing in this case. Let me know what you guys think on that part down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or a live stream. You can follow us at The Full Court YT. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, the NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and a voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything basketball and NBA related. And I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making an episode. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Been a presentation of the Breaks Media.